Thank you for coming. And first, general basic question. How would you assess the latest economic development in Ukraine, and do you see any sign of recovery?
Yes, there are some signs of recovery in Ukraine, partly generated within Ukraine and partly generated with outside of Ukraine. The world economy is starting to get better. Greece has been a problem, which we hope doesn't have a major effect in the region. But they're now predicting a positive economic growth rate for Ukraine this year. So we do see some signs of progress, and we hope that the government will do what is necessary to have those continue and get better as the year goes by.
What kind of sign do you see? What is changing right now?
Well, because there is somewhat political stability now, the business community thinks that this group, they have all the power, they will be able to make decisions, they will be able to move forward, so that's always a positive sign. Consumption seems to be picking up, lending seems to be picking up some, and the mood just seems to be more positive at this point. Of course, it's getting to be spring or summer, and so I think all in all, the mood is good moving forward.
What is the perspective of Ukraine actually receiving IMF money, and it would happen when it would happen?
Well, the business community is looking at several things. They're looking in terms of what could be done to move Ukraine forward. One of them, of course, the IMF agreement. They're in very serious discussions, as you know. We had a meeting with the IMF this week. They said there's some still work to be done. We would think that hopefully it's going to be done by June, and there could be a long-run agreement which goes from now to the end of 2012, and the total package seems around $20 billion, which is necessary for Ukraine's recovery and long-term growth. So we would urge the Ukraine government to stay in negotiations. We think it's positive for them to meet the requirements on IMF. We think the IMF requirements are good for Ukraine, are positive, and will bring positive results. We certainly hope there will be an agreement and a disbursement by June.
What is the concern, IMF concern right now, and what Ukraine should still do to get that agreement and to move that agreement forward?
Well, a lot of the concern is around the budget, concerned around social spending, concerned about Ukraine's ability to raise the money they need in addition to what the IMF is requiring. And another issue, of course, is Ukraine owes companies $3 billion in unpaid VAT, value-added tax refunds. The IMF is concerned about those. They've taken $3 billion in cash from companies, haven't paid any of it back. And that is not a sustainable budget. That's not a sustainable program going forward. And we have all of our international grain companies, steel companies. Some companies are owed as much as $300 million by themselves. So the first strong signal for the individual business community, not macro, or not IMF, or not Russia, the international business community and the local business community, the first signal from this government as to whether they're pro-business will be how they handle the VAT issue. Businesses are getting very concerned because they now put in the budget they want to issue 5-year VAT bonds. 5-year bonds are not the most attractive bonds. If they're 5 years, they certainly have to be where there's multiple payments, like every 6 months, and they've got to have a market rate of interest. We met with companies yesterday here in Washington that are owed $500 or $600 million total. They're very concerned that they're going to issue, or signs that they may issue bonds, which the day after the issue could be worth 60 cents on the dollar, could be worth 70%. Traders will want to buy them then, and they'll lose a lot of money.
So investors need their money cash back.
Yes, and most of it will be reinvested back into Ukraine, in grain elevators, in improvements to a steel plant, in improved infrastructure. So these companies, want to invest most of these VAT refunds back in there and then put more money in there, but they're not going to do it if they think the past VAT tax will not be paid back, and if they won't get the future tax back. And one company puts $25 million into VAT payments every month. They export 80% of their product from Ukraine. This is not an acceptable situation. we're very concerned about how the government's going to handle this.
Another issue is a new agreement with Russia. Ukraine government representatives are arguing that the latest gas deal with Russia is economically beneficial to Ukraine, but Western experts instead are critical of this agreement, saying that it will help Ukraine avoid being more fuel efficient and maintain the lack of transparency in energy sector. What is your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion, I think, agrees with the business community. The business community likes agreements between the business community and the government to be on a business-to-business basis. They like agreements between countries to be on a business-to-business basis. Ukraine should pay a fair business rate, competitive rate to Russia for gas. They should pay a fair rate to transport the gas. They should pay a fair rental rate on the military base. And not get it all entangled in trading horses for cows or trading this for that or 2 chickens for 2 dogs. I mean, you can't, to get it into barter, to get it into politics, normally means Ukraine probably has trouble holding their own. Ukraine's not been a good negotiator on international contracts the last 20 years. Then, regardless of the gas rate, Ukraine needs to raise the price of gas to consumers. Ukraine needs to quit subsidizing the price of gas, which encourages inefficiency, encourages a long-run problem. So Ukraine needs to do a lot of things to make gas efficient and to make the prices market-driven in Ukraine, regardless of whatever they buy gas from Ukraine. So if Ukraine uses the gas agreement to keep prices to plants low, to consumers low, then that's a destructive action on their part. It's not being market-driven, it's not engaging in business-type transactions.
And as well as not, it's kind of stopping reforms of this.
Yes, it stops reforms, for sure.
Very quickly after the Kharkiv agreement, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin proposed to merge Russia's Gazprom and Naftogaz Ukraine. What do you think of such prospect?
The business community has a rather negative reaction to that. Gazprom is so huge, they would just totally swallow the Ukrainian company. You'd lose it completely. And there should be ways for the 2 companies to work together without them absorbing it or buying it. They could work together. Well, there was a proposal from the president himself to work with the EU, Russia, and Ukraine to upgrade those pipelines, to upgrade the system and upgrade Naftogaz, and they could do that without selling that system or that company to the government. So again, the business community wants it to be kept on a business-to-business basis, particularly also in the strategic interest of Ukraine. The strategic interest of Ukraine is not to get themselves economically into a subservient position with Russia. And they've already done several deals. They need to protect their interests. They need to find win-win agreements and cooperative agreements, not selling their assets.